Hey guys, I want to do a quick tutorial on this monitor controller. So obviously we know that this button here, or this knob here, is the master volume for everything. It does have a little level button here that can switch it from knob to preset. If you go here, that's a preset volume that is fixed with this screw down here. The knob doesn't do anything when that's depressed. That's not normally ever used, but you definitely want to leave it on knob unless you intend to use the preset for mixing. That'll come later. So that's the knob button, and then you have some speaker outputs that need to be selected. The default one is this near fields, A, and the sub together. These are the near fields, that's the sub. So if you see them all turned on like that, because you can do that with this monitor controller, please don't leave them like that. That just makes all the speakers run, and it just sounds bad, and it's not good for stuff, I guess. It's not good for your listening, I can tell you that. You can turn something off and turn something else on, like that, but the default thing should be the near fields and the sub. This C one here, if I were to turn that off and this on, that one there, it says speaker selector. This is the speaker selector, and that's because there's three other options behind that button, and they are far fields. Those are the far fields. They are auratones. These are the auratones. They give you an idea of what your music will sound like on a television or a cheap car stereo. And then this button here is the speakers in there, and that refers to the speakers in the recording space, of which only one of them works right now. But so when you select C, you can press one of these or all of these buttons. So let's not have them all pressed. Select something. I usually leave it on far fields as a default. That's why it's the far left option. So that when you select C, you're going to hear those speakers. So let's put it back to the default setting. We'll turn that off, turn that on. Now, inputs, this is the main thing that matters. You've got source select and Q source select, or I should say source select for main and source select for Q. The speakers and the stuff in here are all connected to the main outputs. The Q output feeds the headphones in there. So you can select different things for the headphones that you do for listening in here. But the most important one for most of what you're going to be doing is the main inputs, and they're labeled. The Avid 1.2, that's the main outputs of Pro Tools. You want to have that button on. Avid 3.4 is a secondary output that we don't use very often. Mac line out is the audio output of the Mac computer itself for things like Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, or just previewing audio right from the computer without having Pro Tools open. So it's pretty default to have this one and this one on this row. It's also pretty default to have the Pro Tools on the Q row, because we use the headphones when we're recording in Pro Tools, so we're going to want to send that Avid 1.2 mixed to headphones. So that's the standard source selection settings there. Also, then you've got a cable that you can plug a phone or laptop into, and you want to leave that volume all the way up. If you don't leave that volume all the way up, people just end up turning this volume up to compensate, and then when you switch to some other audio, it's too loud. So we want to leave this aux volume all the way up. This is a talkback microphone for people who are listening to the Q or on headphones. If you want to talk to them, that's the microphone for it. And this is the level of the Q output. This is the master output level for this row of source selections that feeds the headphone amplifier and whoever's wearing the headphones. Now over here, this is a built-in headphone amplifier. You've got two headphone outputs right here, 1 and 2. And you've got headphones 1, there's a 1 and 2 volume control. So this is a direct volume control for those two headphone outputs. And then you can select what you want to hear on those headphones. But with the source button, you can select the main, whatever's being listened to on the main track, or you can switch that and select the Q, whatever is being listened to on the Q track. So that's really useful if you have got a Pro Tools session going where in the control room here you're listening to the main 1.2, and out there the headphones you're sending them Avid 3.4 with a completely different mix, and you put some headphones on in here and you want to be able to switch between the main mix and the Avid 3.4 mix that you're feeding the recording artist. So you can switch between those two mixes if you're doing something like that. So that's kind of a cool thing. So we'll put this back to the normal thing. And then you've got some options here which should never be pressed unless you know what you're doing. You can solo the low, mid, or high frequencies. You can reverse the phase. You can swap the left and rights. You can check your mix by muting just the left, muting everything, muting just the right, or summing your mix to mono to see how it holds up in a mono environment, like on an old iPhone or something like that. The dim button simply turns the volume down by like 20 decibels. It's a quick way. If you're listening to a mix, you got the volume up, and somebody wants to say something real quick, you just hit the dim button. It gets real quiet, and you can say what you need to say, and then you go right back to the level you were at without having to turn the volume down and back up. So that's a real convenient thing. So all of these buttons here are for perspective checking. So when you get a mix and you get tired and you've been mixing for a long time, you do some of these things to alter the way things sound to you, to get some perspective on what your mix sounds like and kind of break you out of like the trance you might be stuck in. And so that's what these tools are all for, is to like switch things up to make you hear your mix differently and hopefully to make the best choices. So there you go. I hope this is a good explanation of how the monitor controller works. See you later.